Mike Piper. The machine is just add dirt. His hands up to show that he's off the controls. It's safe to get in behind the tractor. These 7,200-pound multi-engine monsters, they're great.
That's Barbara, his wife, who does an awful lot of the work on this tractor. In fact, she is the crew. They're from Mount Vernon, Illinois, and right now Barbara is anxiously awaiting the results of what could make them a heck of a lot of money to get on down the road to the next pull. So many of these teams are full-time pullers. At one time, they were no doubt farmers somewhere across the country and kind of gradually started pulling part-time, and many now have sold the old farm and live in their motorhome and truck these things across the country.
You know, I'm surprised, as I think many of the competitors are here, that we haven't seen a full pull. In fact, not anything near it.
The track is heavy. Most of the pullers have underestimated its ability, but not Mike Piper. This is a nice pull. Barbara says no, but it really looks pretty good from our angle. Just add dirt. Pulls 223.04 feet. Oh, I wonder what it takes to satisfy her.
Well, I think she was looking for a first place, and that 223 feet, that's just not sufficient for Mike Piper. As they unhook him, oh, she's upset with it. I wonder if she thinks that he actually did something wrong or if she made a misjudgment. He's not pleased either.
Those things that look like a bread pan go over all of the exhaust headers while the engine is still warm to keep it from bending valves. Let's take a look at what made Barbara so distressful.
Well, they never really got the run going the way they would have expected. The engines aren't running as smooth as they would have liked, and the weight didn't transfer. That front end should be up and riding a little bit better by right now, and it just never happened for them, and so they particularly short run. Barbara and Mike both disappointed with that.
Mike, tell me about that particular pull. Looked like your wheel speed was good off the line, but it just started bogging down on you a little bit about halfway down the pass.
Well, it wasn't so much bogging down. When we run a 4-motor combination like this, we only run 3 motors. You can't get enough tire speed with 3 motors. The front end was terribly heavy. Couldn't get the lift out of the tractor. You just wouldn't set the track and hook up and run like it ought to.
So when you enter a 3-motor tractor in the 7,200-pound class, you know all those things are a given. Had he got the weight right, he might have played higher up on the money, but you're probably not going to win with a 3-motor tractor in this category. Here is one of the most beautifully engineered and best appearing tractors in all of TNT pulling. This is Dave Walsh of the Irish Challenger.
He's got a nice run going for him. He really laid into the power at the start, got the front end balanced pretty well. And that's a pretty good pull for the Challenger.
You darn right it is. 241.3 feet, and let's see, that will put him in second spot.
Still, I'm surprised, as you know, Dave doesn't seem too pleased with that. And I'm really surprised that we're not seeing some greater distances. I know Fred Freeman, who you remember at the start, said, I don't think that'll stand up at all. Well, he's still the leader.
Yeah, he said, I don't think it'll be better than 5th. And this was a pretty pull as far as it went. Maybe just a lack of power or whatever, but the front end was transferring nicely. Notice he's got the wheels cocked to the right so that when it lands, it heads in the right direction. Dave Walsh is with Pat at the end.
Well, Dave, tell me about that pass.
Well, the track's getting worse, so I think I was a little bit heavy up front. I could have used more weight in the rear.
As far as wheel speed, you feel like you had the right wheel speed coming off? Did you have the right pressure in the tires?
Yeah, I think so, but, you know, these new limits, they give these guys 4 engines, and they got more wheel speed than I do, so it ain't really fair to run 4 against 3.
Well, Dave Walsh, like Mike Piper, feels the 3-engine tractors in this class are the underdogs, and maybe they are. On top of the standings so far, there's more to come, is a rather pleasantly surprised Fred Freeman at 254 feet, Dave Walsh at 241, Don Nelson 241, Piper at 223, and Brian Armistead, the Englishman, at 213. Well, there's going to be a great big change of pace here in just a few moments in the Astrodome as the first pair of monster trucks roll out. Stay with us at the TNT Super Nationals. These things are something to see.
We're back at the Houston Astrodome as we join the second round of competition in monster trucks. You may recognize the Awesome Kong, won here last year, and Awesome Kong here in round 2 will be up against Bigfoot. Now, everybody that's ever seen a monster truck show knows that Bigfoot is definitely the power to beat. And every year they do developmental work on it. Earlier, Steve took a look at the changes for this year.
If you're looking for new technology in monster trucks, all you have to do is stop by the Bigfoot pits here at the Astrodome or anywhere else, because Bob Chandler and his guys are always on top of it. Let me show you a brand new rear suspension. Gone is the typical coil-wrapped gas shocks, about 25 of them on the rear that sit straight up and down. This is cantilevered suspension, some technology borrowed from Baja Racing and Stadium Off-Road Racing. Look at these giant reservoirs. These are nitrogen over oil shock absorbers. Now, without springs, what do you do about the rebound? Well, you employ this tremendous torsion bar. Now, what has all this done for the handling of the truck? Well, it used to have 11 inches of up and down rear travel. It now has 24. It's got to be better.
So they've more than doubled the rear suspension travel. And the driver of the Bigfoot, Andy Brass, as he is on the line, ready to face Steve Kane in the Awesome Kong.
Anytime Steve Kane races Bigfoot, he gives it absolutely everything he's got and maybe 10% more. And I can tell you, Andy Brass knows that. I don't think it's a personal thing. Bigfoot has the big reputation. The more you can beat it, the more your reputation grows.
Interesting matchup here in round number 2. Two of the top powers in the sport of monster truck racing. And Bigfoot lays the power over 1,000 horsepower and gets a head start over Awesome Kong. But Awesome Kong comes back with some speed. They come to the turn. Bigfoot nearly gets upside down and stops on the jump as Awesome Kong now is heading home and going to pick up the win.
I think Andy Brass knew he had cut that too tight. It might be disqualified, so he backed it up and flies it to the line in legal fashion. But the loser, apparently.
Now, Bigfoot did cut that corner early, but then backed up and tried to get a good run at it. Here we can take a real good look and see exactly what happened. Bigfoot on the left starts to make the turn early on. Awesome Kong is coming a little bit wide. So while Bigfoot's turning early, take a look at the left front of Awesome Kong as it takes out that pylon. As a result of that, both are disqualified. Now Pat is with Andy Brass.
Well, Andy, you're out of it at the Astrodome tonight, but you still think you might have won that race.
Yeah, it was. You know, it was a controversial race. They said both of us were disqualified, but down at the end down there, I seen I was going to hit the cone, so I had to back up, try to make a legal run. It's just something that we've been taught that, you know, there's always a chance the other guy making a DQ too, so you got to back up and just make a legal one.
Well, the fans sure love you here in the Astrodome, and I know that's a tough break for you and a tough one for the crowd.
Yes, it is a tough break. You know, like I said, I'd like to try to take it all tonight, you know, and I'd like the fans to see me do it with the new truck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Pat, maybe the jury isn't quite in yet on that. There's still some discussion going on among the officials. Well, here's one half of our next pair in round number 2 of monster truck competition. The very strong King Crunch, driven by Scott Stevens, highly regarded in this sport as having an awful lot of horsepower at every event. Right now, let's go back down and check in with Pat and Steve Kane.
Stephen, a tough break for you and your truck tonight. Tell us what happened.
Well, I don't know. They said I hit the cones down there, but I talked to a few other people, and they said I didn't hit them, so I don't know what's going on.
Could any of your team see it, or I mean, did anybody actually close enough down there to take a look at it for you?
No, everybody's got to stand way back, you know, so they can't really see what's going on down at the other end of the arena.
Well, it's a tough break. I know you want to do well. Thank you.
Well, it's pretty clear on that camera down at the end there. He definitely came across the line and got the cone. So Steve Kane is disqualified as well. Well, here's the second truck of our next pair. It's the Equalizer, and it's driven by this man, David Morris. Of course, he is up to face Scott Stevens in the King Crunch, one of the prettiest monster trucks that's here at the Astrodome.
I'll tell you anymore, there are no ugly trucks in this business. The Equalizer out of Tennessee, King Crunch out of the state of Texas. Who got the advantage? It's over on the far side. The Equalizer.
Big bounce out of the King Crunch, and that slows him down coming into the corner. He's got to be real careful climbing that hill. Equalizer has a good lead now as he goes to the final run over the cars, and Equalizer takes the win.
What a beautiful turn at the far end by David Morris of Springfield, Tennessee. He used that four-wheel steering to perfection, and that's really where he wanted. Watch this. Every driver here should watch this.
Yeah, he just came around that corner perfectly. You see how those four-wheel steering arrangements are aligned, straightened up, came off well, while at the same time the King Crunch is all crossed up.
Yeah, that was just a beautiful drive. Certainly David Morris earned his way into the semifinals with this high-flying Equalizer.
You get an idea there of how messed up the King Crunch was as he came almost sideways behind the Equalizer and took a whale of a bounce. So it's a situation of really excellent driving. Pat is with David Morris.
Well, Dave Morris, you look good on that pass.
Yeah, that felt like it's been my best one here since I've been in Houston. I just hope I can make a few more just like it.
You still feel comfortable down there in the turn? You look like you got around pretty quick that time, coming back this way.
Yeah, it's getting better. Being this is just my first turning course, everything's a little spooky, so I'm just taking it a little bit at a time, hoping to get better each time.
We advance to the next round. Good luck.
Thanks.
Well, his driving ability is incredible considering this is his first turning course, he said, Paul Page. A lot of the outdoor courses, the fairs and so forth, are all straight line. We'll come back with more of the 7,200-pound tractor class right after this.
We're back at the TNT Super Nationals from the Houston Astrodome. The 7,200-pound modified tractors, rear-wheel drive, and on this baby, we're talking 4 big engines plugged in. It's the Bandit, and that's Dave Banter up on top. Now, everybody has a different approach to how they hang the weights on their tractor. And earlier, Steve took a look at Dave Banter's particular philosophy.
A year ago, here at this very dome, we were privileged to show you the debut appearance of the radical Banter Brothers offset driver tractor. It was not only the beginning for that machine, it was the end. Dave Banter said they never got the weight balance right with that one engine sitting up high over the rear axle, and weight balance is everything in this sport. So the new Banter Brothers tractor, far more conventional and with very small front wheels, and that's so they can move the engine mass further forward. The problem is this. Their chassis are so good now, they're getting such traction and bite that it wants to carry the front end way too high. And rather than weight it down with lead, why not put the engines out there and put the lead where you need it? For example, outdoors in this class, 7,200 pound, he runs 5 engines. Indoors, TNT says